We have got a special Sunday night spiritual broadcast for you all tonight, and there's going to be some flat earth in it as well. How are you doing this evening, brother?
I'm good. I'm really excited to be here. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Give us a 5x5. Let us know how all the new settings and the new systems are actually working on your end.
Yeah, so we've been hoping to be able to have both of us be able to screen share while we're both on screen like this. And we'll work through it. It's not going to be happening tonight. I'll be doing the screen sharing. Why don't you tell people what they have in store for them this evening?
We got so much. Now, first off, I wanted to do a little housekeeping. If you're not subscribed, my YouTube channel was taken down. It's on Rumble now, the Limitless channel, or RJ Shine. There's a link in the description box, and you can go there and you can check out a 2.5-hour morning show where I went through all the psyopses and hoaxes in depth over on Rumble. Make sure you're tuned in and subscribe there. Secondly, we've had the football earth and soccer ball earth debunked. You know, Jason, it's just insane. I want to start off by saying, everybody, that this is also a place where we can chill. There is so much trauma, stress, division. Of course, Christ came to divide. Okay. The truth is what divides. Okay. Nothing else. We want to be divided against liars and deceivers and deception. So here this is a place where you can come and chill. From time to time, it may get heated, but wow, it is just insane what's taking place on YouTube and all the different social media sites, like all these different New World Order tactics of division, of people pushing nothing but disinformation regarding the 24-hour sun footage. It's there's satanic shield channels like King Nico and all these other places just popping up and instantly being pushed by the agents of like Russian vids and all this stuff. And we don't here support any disinformation. We call it out. We do it strong. We do it quick, but we're not always, our guard isn't always up, right, Jay? We're not always like having to go into battle. We're allowed to just relax sometimes.
Yeah, some positive news. I received an email today from Stephen Alonzo, who actually wants to work with us to produce an app that would show the azimuthal grid, the circle of sight that we've been showing everybody, like we see from the Andrew Marsh program. Use that over a stereographic projection, like the onion. So we'll have to see how it goes. I mean, I've got some really important criteria. I want to make sure that there's no tracking in the app, and I have to be guaranteed that it won't have anything like that for us to use it or recommend it to anybody else. But if we can work in tandem to produce a product that accurately represents a person's circle of sight anywhere on Earth over the 2D onion projection. And tonight we're going to be showing just how much of the 2D onion projection is actually usable and how much of it you have to disregard. So we keep learning and we keep on sharing what we can with y'all. I've got a video in production right now where I'm working on the script for it, which is going to be the introductory video that sort of tries to answer every question a person would have. That's now being pushed our direction because the final false dichotomy psyop took place in Antarctica, and now all of a sudden they don't have an explanation for day and night anymore. So there's going to be people that need to have a model, and we want to show them all the most up-to-date and high-end graphics that we possibly can, because those types of things help a person be able to conceptualize and to be able to perceive the things that we're talking about.
Mm-hmm. You know, it's disappointing. You know, I'd hoped that QN Dummy or McToon or Fight the Fat Earth or one of these channels would have come out and debunked us. We can't even put low-hanging fruit out there like Earth is a football, prove us wrong. Not one single. Now, the people out there, they're either incompetent, they're either ignorant, just not intelligent enough. But okay, Jason, you've had to go and debunk it. You've had to figure it out. You've had to do the modeling because no one else would do it. We've been waiting and waiting, and I guess people just aren't intelligent enough. QN Dummy, he's just not smart enough to show us how it's wrong and how the sphere model actually works. And we were hoping that somebody would, you know, any of these channels, but as you can see time and time again, they're too afraid to say our names. QN Dummy just puts the content on his backup channel now. We're not getting anybody from McToon, Fight the Flat Earth. We're not getting any of these Professor Daves, Simon Dans. They've never once, ever uttered our names. And when they do, they misrepresent us. They make up different bearing false witness about us. They are terrified to actually say our names because then their audience is going to actually find us. They only shout out the teams that work together. So you've actually finally done it. You figured it out. You've shown how the equal distances for a sphere Earth would work with the lines of latitude and the lines of longitude, right?
Yeah. So the football projection, the American football projection that we've been showing everybody is based off of equal measurements of the lines of longitude, and it's a 2-scale projection. But there's another way to do it, and that's the way the globers, the space ballers want to do it. And so I've done it the way they like to do it, but there's just as many or equal amount of problems, maybe worse. And so either way you take a look at it, we're showing basically there's 2 options. You can either believe that people that are antipodal from you, and that term means that they're 180 degrees around some sort of sphere, ball, football or soccer ball, that person is upside down from you, that upside down antipodal position. And we're going to show everybody how the coordinate system, the information that's in it, shows that it's all on a plane and that nobody's upside down. But the way for you to see that is with the graphics that have been built that will help you see it all in perspective at one time. Most people, so many of these things are so unfathomable. The idea of a 93 million mile away sun that's 864,000 miles, it's unfathomable, and computers can't even represent it. So we're going to show everything, what is visible, what is in your circle of sight, what can you measure, and it all adds, it comes from a fixed stationary plane, and there is just one horizontal reference. It doesn't change every 10 degrees that you walk around some ball. And we'll be going through that, and we've got the calendar. So we tried to do a calendar update last week, and then as we were doing it, we found an error in it as we were going through it. So it's been redone. I went through and checked every single new moon for the next 8 years, and so all the updates should be made within it. The new links are shared in the description box. There's both the True Hebrew Calendar. We're going to be going through what the 2025 fulfillment dates would be for a Great Tribulation kickoff, because we also have a End Times Eschatology Chart. And so we have some basically predicted start dates where if there's these certain patterns that we've talked about are fulfilled, then these are the time periods that we would be talking about for a Great Tribulation to begin and end, and when the midpoint and all that kind of fun stuff is. So some people that are interested in the True Hebrew Calendar, we're going to be going through and actually giving some explanations for how it is that we come to the 12 and 13 month years as opposed to like the Vatican, right? So we've got those updates. What else are we going to be going through?
So we're also going to look into the Septuagint a bit. We're going to understand and look at what is the Septuagint and how it differs from the other books that are canonized in the other Bible books and the different translations. We're going to look at a little bit into the book of Genesis and a little bit into the book of Job. We will be creating a presentation or a debate format where we're going to start challenging people on the quote unquote biblical cosmology. We've had enough of people like Witsit doesn't get it. We've had enough of people like Fight the Flat Earth or Flatzoid or these King Nikos. And we're just going to go around and start smashing them. So we're also going to be looking a little bit into that stuff. Also, we're going to be taking a look at, like I said, I want people to understand that there's a reason. There's a reason why people hate. The word hate Jason and I. They don't watch our content. They don't share it. They don't talk about it. They're willing to be sphere globe earthers and just walk away from the truth because they just can't stand the fact that the creator of the Bible, right, is Yahawashai and his son Yahawashai, and that everything that we've been searching has actually been the truth. Now, have we been right on everything? No, we've actually been corrected along the way. And that's what a true sign of somebody following the Christ is going to happen to them. That's what you're going to go through, learning, making mistakes, and then correcting them. And it's sad. It's sad that you've got this whole fake biblical community of people that are absolutely not Christians. They don't, and at all Christian. You got vegan Pythagoreans like Russian videos that drinks his urine. You've got these absolute sodomite satanic channels like King Nico showing up. You've got these channels like Flatzoid that are just absolutely humiliating and mocking the scriptures every possible way that they can. And there's only Jason and I. Now we're searching to find other channels that share the truth, that want to find the truth, but sadly there isn't very many. Have you put the screen share up, Jason? Have you moved on, or are you ready to go on? Should we get into the calendar update now? I'm just rambling.
Yeah, we can get into the calendar update. So we'll switch over to this and we will get into what changes were made and why. So this right here is my own version of it. There is a link to this in the description box under fundamental truth number 5. It's going to look like this. It's it should be compatible. You should be able to see and use this anywhere, everybody. And what we have is, all right, so we're in January here, 2025, and what we had was the 10th new moon took place December 31st, the last day of the year, right? So that's the 10th new month, and then there is 11th new month. The important one to get right is the new year, which is Nisan 1. So here's the 12th new moon that's taking place March 1st, and then we've got blood moon taking place the middle of the month. Then there's a partial solar eclipse taking place March 29th. And then we have a 13th new moon. Now this is where we've made a change. We had this as the New Year's in the last podcast, but there's a reason why it shouldn't be. So I want to point out to everybody, I put together a chart, the Hebrew months in the year. And so for 2025, the Matonic calendar, this is what was established at 325 AD by the forefathers of the Vatican. They went to a 19-year fixed Matonic cycle calendar that they don't test or check anything. They don't look at the stars. They don't look at whether or not the barley is Abib or ripe or anything like that. It's just strictly this Matonic cycle. And so in 2025, they're going with a 12-month year. They're going to be calling this 330 right here the beginning of the year, Nisan 1. So we are
33, right? Of course.
Yeah, we're going to be out of sync with them this year because we are going with the 13th month. Now, you'll be able to track here. In 2026, we're both going to be doing a 12-month year. Then 2027, they'll be going with a 13th month year while we're going with a 12. Then they're going 12, we're going 13. Then we're back together again, 12 and 12, then a 13, 12, a 12, 13, and back together again. So it's always a pain in the butt when we have to correct every single time we're talking about something. Oh, they're a month off. They're a month off. But yeah, that's the way this year is going to be, because let's go ahead and bring up Stellarium. And let's see, we're looking at this date, 3/30/2025. We're always looking for new moon sightings. And so we're looking west, the sun goes down, and once the sun is down, you will see that day glow has to have gone away to a certain point, and then this one's easy to spot. We have a new moon up here, and so that is a new moon. But where is the sun? The sun is way back here in
Way
the
off.
tail of the first fish of Pisces. All right, so watch what happens here. If you make that the new moon, all right, if this was the new year new moon, then you're going out here to the 14th, which is Passover, which is April 12th. So if we come out here to April 12th, you can see that the sun is just coming to the second fish of Pisces here. So the sun is not in Aries the Lamb.
Just in case somebody that's new here, where the sun's position is in the 12 houses, which is called the zodiac, is how we calendar the year. And the first month of the year was instructed to Moses after they escaped out of Egypt was to be in the Lamb or Aries, or also called Abib. So it's the lamb in the sky that you're supposed to eat the lamb on Passover. That's how it's been ordained, just basically.
So let's take a look at this here, where by adding the 13th month, all right, that's going to make the true New Year's April 28th. So if we go to the 28th here, see what we got. We have the sun in Aries, the Lamb. Right?
Well,
and here comes.
You got to go 14 days, 15 days.
Just wait. So here's the new moon on the 28th. The sun goes down. The moon is still in Aries right here. And here's our new moon. So this is Nisan 1 right here. Now, if we go 14 more days, that will be May 11th. So let's go, let's bring the sun back up here so we can see it as we're moving along. And we are going to the 11th. And
it's close.
The sun is still in Aries the Lamb. So these purple lines are the outlines of the constellations. Now I want to point out something about Aries and all these different constellations. So you got Aries, you've got Pisces right here, and something that's important for you to know is that not all the constellations are the same size. So let's go ahead and bring this graphic up right here. And so this is from Understanding the Zodiac, Earth's only real clock, calendar, and compass tool. This was, I guess, like a year ago. On this graphic here, you can actually see that each one of these constellations, Aries is only 25 days long. All right, this is significant because months are 29 or 30 days long. So that means that the sun can actually skip Aries. There has to be years where it actually misses, where your new moon is going to be in Pisces, and then your next new moon is going to be in Taurus, and it's going to jump the constellation. Now that's not the case this year. You can see that we're ending up towards the rear end of Aries with the way the calendar is. But if you look, Pisces is 38 days long, which means that you are going to have some years where there's 2 full moons or two new moons within the constellation. Now, Taurus is one of those that's over a month. You're going to some years have 2 new moons or 2 full moons. The big one, the really big one, is Virgo. 45 days the sun moves throughout Virgo.
You can tell the creator was awfully careful and special when he crafted the Virgo sign, which is the virgin sign, obviously, if people are tuning in.
Yeah, so that's part of the calculations. You need to have the new year be in Aries, and then that's going to land the 7th month, which is your fall festivals. You've got trumpets and atonement and tabernacles. They'll fall within Virgo, even wherever, as long as you're keeping Aries as the head of the year. So I just wanted to point out to everybody that, yeah, not all constellations are equal length, right? You've got totally different lengths for all the different constellations.
So the constellations are different sizes. The speeds of the sun, the moon, and the fixed stars are all different. So it's a giant, super complex timepiece, and it actually works in such a way where you can still keep it in time by setting the head of the year on Aries, which is interesting that was the instruction given to Moses.
So that was how we established that 2025 is going to be a year with, let me get this back up, 13 months, right? Whereas the Metonic calendar people are going with 12. So Passover 2025 is May 11th at sundown. Put that on your calendar, everybody. And so then, I mean, we don't have to go through and check every single one of these new moons, but that's all you're looking for, right? I went through and I looked to see when the new moons would be expected. And once you've established the head of the year, your Nissan one here, then it's pretty straightforward after that. So when you do the counts, you get to what would be Ascension Day on June 28th, and Pentecost will be July 1st at sundown.
I was hoping it would be August 8th. I mean,
yeah, see, August 8th this year.
One day after the full moon, I guess, right? Or is it new moon? Full moon, yeah.
Full moon.
And sometimes the full moons, everyone that's tuning in, the people that calculate them, they're off a day, either ahead or behind too. So you always have to follow and watch for that too. It's interesting how, it's a constant checking and having to observe it. And again, I like to say that if we didn't have computers and TV screens and all this and watches, we would all know how to read the sky so well. It's sad, but we're still trying to learn, and we're grateful that you're here tonight too, learning with us.
You know what I just picked up? The 9th of Av, right? That's sort of a famous one.
Yeah.
My birthday falls on the 9th of Av this year.
Wow, it lines up perfectly on September 1st.
September 1st is the 9th.
Wow, wouldn't it be great if we could destroy all the different satanic temples, just like that happened over and over again on 9/1? Let's pray for it, everybody. Be prepared for 9/1. I'm rooting for that.
That would make me happy.
That would be a good birthday.
So then we've got blood moon. So we've actually been in a stretch of them not being considered blood moons, but they were just considered lunar eclipses. And I do believe that it's actually being called a blood moon in this case. And so that's in September. And then we've got a partial solar eclipse that New Zealanders are going to be getting a glimpse of. And this is
New Zealanders here,
right at the equinox. And then the 6th new moon is it's not trumpets that can get raised right there. The 6th new moon is the first of, what is the month that it's 40 days till, is that Sivan?
Elul?
Elul.
Are you talking about the fall? Elul leads to atonement.
Okay, yeah. So that's when that 40-day fast begins.
Mm-hmm.
And then so we get to the 7th new moon, and here is trumpets. So the first 10 days of the 7th month are considered the 10 days of awe. The 10th day is the Day of Atonement, and this is the most holy and most important day of the year. It is not like the other festivals, which are feasts, right? This is a day of
Fasting.
and just really repentance and not working, being focused on being a good person. So that is November 1st at sundown to November 2nd at sundown. And then we have a few days until the full moon, which is at the 15th with the Sabbath of Tabernacles. All right. This is, like you've said, probably
So
your
late.
favorite.
November tabernacles, huh? Okay.
Yeah. Everything's pushed back in the year because of adding that 13th month to begin the year. So we have November 6th through, so the last day of Tabernacles begins at the 13th, ends on the 14th. Everybody remember, just want to point out here that the date that you see right here is connected to the new moon sighting. So the 7th new moon sighting will be on the 23rd, but when is a new moon sighting? It's when the sun is going down. So like the day is already 3/4 over, all right? And there's, because of the difference between the Hebrew calendar and the Gregorian. So just understand that because the new moon sighting is on this day, it's really the Hebrew day. This one should be dragged down like 3/4 of the length of the column here to actually line up correctly. Just don't have a way of doing that. Somebody does, let us know. So then we get to this number showing up here. This is a 1260. And so what we've done is we have a 1260 day count that's running from Passover, or no, not Passover, of 2029. So let's go ahead and scroll this now. Show everybody the basic principle here is that the two witnesses have like a parallel ministry in what Christ's ministry was like, because well they both die and then are resurrected like 3.5 days later. And so because Christ did that at Passover, it seems likely that the two witnesses would also have that same pattern. And so Passover begins April 27th, 2029 at sundown. So I have the one here on April 28th, which is when the day of Passover is ending. This is when Christ, he died towards the end of the day, right? So I run the 1260 days up that direction, and that actually gives us a number that we would be thinking the two witnesses should have their power beginning then, right? If they're going to have it for 1260 days. And then there's another column that runs for the Antichrist, or beast, right? Because remember, there's two beasts and a false prophet. There's 3 bad guys that are spoken of in the book of Revelation, and the 1260 days are given to that beast. And so that 1260 day count will run you out to, get it out here, to the Day of Atonement in 2032, in October 14th in 2032. So the 1260 days, counting back up that direction, would be to roughly when the two witnesses are resurrected, the 3.5 days later. 1260 will get you to the Day of Atonement. The 1290 gets you into November 11th, 12th in this range in 2032. And then the 1335, which is the one that we are really looking forward to, would be Hanukkah of December 27th, 2032. So this is when we are hoping that there's a temple rededication and Christ's millennial reign begins.
That'll be great, right?
For 1,000 years. And so that leads us to the updated End Times Eschatology chart that we have. And so this is in the description box. It may look too small to read, but you can zoom in on this, everybody. It zooms so you can see the whole picture, and then you can also get into the details. So the premise here is that Hebrew month, Hebrew day, and what we're hoping is that this new year is 5993, because one of these years it's going to be 7 years of Great Tribulation. It's going to come to the year 6000, and that will begin the 7th day, right? Christ's millennial reign.
A day with Yahawashai is 1,000 years on earth.
Mm-hmm. So I just have out here that Nisan 1, New Year's, is April 28th, 2025, with the new moon sighting. So the things that need to be fulfilled in the Great Tribulation is there are 7 seals that are opened, then there are 7 trumpets, then there are 7 bowls. So at some point in this, if it's 5993, you have to have the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. And then it seems like, right, the Day of Atonement lines up with the 5th seal. It seems like the 6th seal would line up with tabernacles. And then we have this date out here that there's no festival attached with it. This is just where the 1260 day count from Passover 2029 gets you to. That is, let me see if I can get a handle on this thing and get a fast scroll. See that 1260 day count from Passover 2029 brings us to what we would think be around November 16th. So you got to remember that Earth is 24 hours wide. So it really always depends on where you're measuring to or where you're at in order to know which day it is. So you're always going to have a window, like a day or one way or the other. Really, right?
Well, it seems those dates actually set the marker. So when it does take place, we'll know it's 5993. And when that takes place, we'll know that it was 1260 days from the start of the Great Tribulation, right?
Yeah. So if it begins like this year, these are those festival dates. And then that 3.5 years later will bring you to the death of the 2 witnesses. If that's Passover, that's going to be April 27th, 2029. And then a resurrection and a 1260 day count for the beast. That brings you to the Day of Atonement, October 14th to 15th, 2032. Here's that 1290 day count to the November 12th of 32. Here is the Hanukkah at December 27th.
It's the rapture. You get the rapture right there, everyone. All you people that are tuned in that are rapture watchers, Jason's showing you the rapture.
Yeah, this is the meeting Christ in the clouds, 1 Thessalonians 4:14 through 17.
There it is.
Yep.
Biblically, right? Exegesis.
And for those that want to really look far ahead, after the 1,000-year reign, a judgment day on the Day of Atonement in 3032.
Wow.
Right? Going out 1,000 years, that would be November 6th. It would be Judgment Day.
Can't wait to see you all there. I'm looking forward to that day. Then we can start the 8th day, right?
Yeah, so this is the End Times Eschatology Chart, and we haven't had this has been out for quite some time, and it's actually checked out with other people's have made comments regarding what they say biblical end times chronology is, and it's all checked out. So there are scriptures cited here. A lot of people, the pre-tribulation rapture people, they, instead of having the Christ meeting in the clouds right here, they've got that before anything even happens. So
they're not biblical. They're eisegesis. They're inventing it. They're coming up with their own theories. You've laid it out chronologically the way that the scriptures lay it out. You haven't added or taken away anything from it. You've just simply splayed it out exactly the way that it's written.
Yeah, so that is the calendar and End Times Eschatology Chart update. Unless if there's any quick questions here, I guess we would take a break and come back and get into some flat Earth. How does that sound?
Let's do it.
These days my heart's always on the run. These days the world's spinning out of control. These days are fast and they're furious. Feels like the worst is ahead of us. Sometimes it's hard to feel at home, but I believe that you and I are in the right place at the right time. God called us by name, and He doesn't make mistakes. I know we were born to shine bright in a dark world that needed some light. Don't have to be afraid. Maybe we were made for these days. Just needs the hope that's inside of us. What if it's more than a destiny? What if we're part of a masterpiece? Until our Father brings us home.
That is a great song. So we are back and we are in SketchUp right here. And what is this mess that you're looking at right here? Well, this is This is the soccer ball Earth, everybody. And so without anybody even challenging us on us calling Earth's coordinate system a football, it's time for us to go ahead and explain this for y'all. We're going to get out ahead of this. And what's going to happen is somebody's going to come along and wake up and realize that this right here the 2D coordinate system projected to scale is an onion looking thing like this. It's not zooming nice. And then we were showing people how it projects to a football. Now, what we have done is to make this football, we made all these lines of longitude here equal distant. So from the equator to 10 degrees, from 10 degrees to 20 degrees, from 20 to 30, so on, so forth. Each one of these are equidistant because that is what the coordinate system says. Right? Now, a savvy globe earther will come along and say, well, the 600 nautical miles isn't up the center of this. It's actually going around the outside of it. And so let's show you what that actually looks like. And to do that, I want to show you all that what this is all coming from is the Andrew Marsh. What I did is I went through and took a whole bunch of screenshots based on a day, just like this. So it's equinox, and I've got it at a solar noon. And I've got everything zeroed. So we're at the prime meridian, and we're at the equator. All right, 0 and 0. So all the images you're going to see in the graphics that I'm presenting are based on this day, this type of a setup. And I've got north on the left-hand side over here. So we are in the west looking east at this view right here. And I want to show everybody that it goes from 90 degrees. All right, this is the South Pole right here. And here's, passing through the 40s. Here we're getting up to the equator. All right, we're at latitude 0. The sun is 90 degrees straight up. And then we're going to the north. And this is the tilt until we get to the North Pole, and it's flat again like this. And so we've got the sun right at the horizon, and the North Pole and the South Pole, all right, all on a plane. I just want to point that all out, and then we're going to start taking a look at this SketchUp that I built here. And so let's go ahead and zoom in at our North Pole. And you're going to see that what I just showed you, here we're at the North Pole, the sun is at the horizon. And then as we work our way around, here's 10 degrees or 80 degrees. Yeah, it's 10 degrees of between these two places, but this is considered 80 degrees north.
Latitudes.
Yep, latitudes. Here is 70 degrees north latitude. Here is 60. Here is 50. Here is 40. Here is 30. Here is 20. Here is 10. And here is the equator. Right? So what they want you to believe is that the latitude and longitude coordinate system, that the distance between the 10 degrees, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, and 80, that it's not equal spacing, All right, it's not equal spacing because they're saying that you're looking at the distance, right? That these are all equal. So each one of these dotted lines I have coming out here are 10 degrees. So here's the 10 degrees. That's the reason why I drew this 10-degree latitude across here to this point. This line is where the 20 degrees intersects. All right. So when you do that and you take an orthographic look at Earth, you will see that these outside skin distances are equal distant. These are all 10 degrees from each other, but then that makes your latitudes appear to actually get narrower from the equator as you get up here, because this is supposed to be part of a ball. It's supposed to be here's supposed to be your equal distant out here, and then the lines of latitude are getting closer together. All right, so I just helped explain this for the heliocentrists, and then they go tilting around underneath here, so that this is 10 degrees south, this is 20, this is 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, and 90, and you're upside down. So you won't find too many heliocentrists that have put together a graphic so so detailed with so much information regarding what is supposedly their model. Because now what we're going to do is prove that this idea that you're going around an outside edge that's equal distant here, and that you're on a ball, be it a football or a soccer ball, it's got a really huge flaw in it. Because what's happening is there's a baseline that's being adjusted by 10 degrees every 10 degrees. So when we go from buildings being perpendicular at the North Pole right here, when we go to 80 degrees north, this 10 degrees difference right here means that this baseline, which is going to be your tangent drawn, to a center of a radius Earth, that this tangent is different by 10 degrees. So this baseline is changed by 10 degrees here. It's changed by 10 degrees here. It's changed by 10 degrees here, 10 degrees here, 10 degrees here. This is the baseline changing until we get around to the equator. And what you have at the equator is, because 90 degrees have added up, you've added an extra 10 degrees to your baseline. You're now sideways. All right, so you literally have to be sideways here. And then if you continue adding the 10 degrees extra to each one of these baselines all the way around, you get to the point where you're completely 180 degrees upside down from where you started. Right? So the real system, if we go to Andrew Marsh, you'll see that there's only 180 degrees. If we go from 90 degrees south here and we go to 90 degrees north right here, that's a total of 180 degrees. But you'll see at no point did these buildings go upside down. Right? You notice that the buildings did not go upside down. So let's go back to what they have right here, and notice that so each one of these, you'll see it looks like they're all lined up. Each one of these would be pointing. You've seen all these heliocentric diagrams before, where each one of these are pointed to what would be a sun 93 million miles away out here. All right. And then it's 864,000 miles in diameter, which actually makes it to about a half a degree of our sky, which is acceptable. That is about a half a degree. But the distance and the scale is a major problem. because you can't even model that, right? It's literally impossible to model that in any way. Where I want to point out to people, I'm gonna see if I can find this. Let's see here. I have it open. If Earth was a pixel, what size screen would you need? All right, so if Earth was a single pixel, to see the sun as a visible dot on the same screen, you would need a screen roughly 109 times larger than a standard screen. So they're saying that to have this is not the answer that I had before. I want that one. This one from Quora, this one does the whole solar system. I want to point this out here. All right. So if Earth is depicted as one pixel on a screen, how must the screen be able to show the entire known universe? Well, they're just going to do the Milky Way galaxy in this calculation. So the average pixel size in millimeters is 0.2645. The diameter of Earth is 12,742 kilometers per Google. The diameter of the Milky Way galaxy is 100,000 light years per Google. 1 light year is the 9.46 times 10 to 12 kilometers more Google. So the Milky Way galaxy is this. Thus, if Earth were 1 pixel, that equated to 12,742 kilometers. So 1 pixel is representing Earth, then the Milky Way would equal 74. What is that?
Quintillion? Where are we at? Sextillion?
Yeah, it's quad. So this is, this is the millions, billions, or 74 trillion pixels wide. And so multiply that by the width of a pixel, and you get this number, which is like 19 trillion. So toss some unit conversions, and that turns out to be 19,643,000 kilometers.
Wow. Compared to 1 pixel?
Yeah, if Earth
That's not resolvable. That's unresolvable.
If Earth was 1 pixel, then the screen that you would need to be able to show Milky Way to scale is
wow.
Yeah, 19 million kilometers, almost 20 million kilometers.
That's crazy.
The width of your screen would have to be to have Earth be 1 pixel. So the thing is when you get into the idea that you've got a 93 million mile away sun that's 864,000, you've never seen that ever in your life. There's no possible way of representing that. Like, you cannot put the sun, moon, and Earth into a 3D model and show it. All right, there's other links that there's no computer monitor, TV monitor, like there is no screen big enough to actually even represent that. So it's not real. It's never happened. You've never seen it. The only way that can exist is in your imagination, right? Because they've never shown you a single scaled representation of it, and there is no program, no computer that can. It's just not possible. So this idea that all these things are lining up to this fixed sun that's way out here, 93 million miles away, and that each one of these circles of sight are going around a curve like this.
While Earth is spinning.
Let's go back to this. And I want to show you again that because we're on a fixed and stationary plane, in order in order for this to be the heliocentric model, so this is one of the things they keep on saying, oh, this is based on the globe. This is based on the globe. No, it's not, because here we have the sun right here. We're at the equator, and then we have a fixed plane like this. But if this was the globe model, this plane would have to be tilted sideways. The plane would have to be tilted sideways right here in order for the sun to be straight out here. Just want to go back to this. The plane would have to be rotating. If we're at the North Pole, all right, we're at the North Pole, everything's right side up like this, then in this 180 degrees right here, this yellow ring should not be rotating at all. The plane itself would have to be rotating, where once we get to the South Pole, now all of a sudden these buildings are upside down. All right, see, we had the full 180 degrees right here, but all on a fixed plane that didn't go upside down. If this was the globe model, this plane would have to have flipped and gone upside down. At the equator, the model would have to have the buildings sideways. And keep in mind that in that fixed and stationary model, that all of this would have to be rotating. The sun stays still, and then this whole plane that's right here has to be rotating to give you the time of day. See, everything in this model has the sun moving around the observer on a fixed and stationary plane. It doesn't have a sun stationary out here that the plane itself rotates. Right? The plane does not change pitch as we go from one latitude to the other. And that's what it would have to do to represent heliocentrism. So you can't have the all these lined up out here to a fixed and stationary sun without actually having the plane rotating. You follow that, brother?
Absolutely. I completely understand how it works. And it's easy to see. People should very easily be able to understand it. But continue.
All right. And so now I want to do is show how this really works. So here's the 2D onion, and we're going to have those same circles of sight at all these different latitudes. But I want to point out here that, so here with the 2D onion projection, each one of these distances, we're at the equator. So here's the 10 degrees north. This is equidistant here. 10 to 20, equidistant. 30 to 40, equidistant. Each one of these are equal distant to the north and to the south. Right. So now if we come in and take a look at this, this is what we are saying is taking place. Where with the Andrew Marsh, we're at the North Pole here, and sun's down here at the horizon. Here we're at 80 degrees north here, and the tilt is like this. Here's 70, here's 60, 50, 40, 30, 20, 10, and the equator. Right? And then heading south, we've got 10 degrees south, 20 degrees south, 30 south, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, and 90, where the sun is back at the horizon like this. So on a flat plane, we've got we've got all the latitudes. We're at the prime meridian. We're at the center here, and we're showing how there's only a total of 180 degrees of rotation. And it's all on a fixed and stationary plane like this. The model that we're using, you can see that the baseline has never changed. The baseline remains the same, and just the tilt of the sun is changed by a person's latitude here. There's a full 180 degrees right there. But what the globers want you to believe is that that every 10 degrees, the baseline changes without you ever being given a measurement saying that, okay, you've gone 10 degrees, now you need to adjust your baseline. All right, this is just all absolutely assumed that the baseline's changing, that once you've gone halfway around like this, that you're 90 degrees out, and once you get around here, you're a full 180 degrees out, upside down. Whereas on the on the 2D version of it, it's just tilted like this. This is all the same day. So we're going to continue to be showing everybody how the seasons work. This is just a day on the equinox. This is the 2D onion projection where everything is equidistant between its lines of latitude. And this is the one that if you were to project this three-dimensionally, it turns up looking like a football. So when you take that 2D onion and everything is equidistant, this is how you get your football Earth. That's based on each one of these actually continuing to remain equidistant from each other, like it does on the two-dimensional plane. Right? So the reason why we went with the football is because this is the way we measure Earth. We measure it flat. And if you want to keep it equidistant, it's not the skin on the outside of a soccer ball. When you go 600 nautical miles to the north or 600 nautical miles to the south, that's done on a plane. So when you wrap this up, this is how you end up with football Earth, American football Earth, right?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, so just wanted to get out ahead of that, show everybody how this works. It's going to be, part of our presentations going forward. Just continuing, this is how you explain the seasons, and then also how you travel. So another thing I wanted to show people quick is that when we use there it is. When we use this moleweed projection, which is really close to the onion, the advantage that this has right here is the ability to move it, to recenter things around. And so this right here is now centered to the equator and the prime meridian. And while not perfectly an onion, it's close enough for a person to sort of get and understand it. So what you see out here is that the coordinate system at the equator is absolutely dead on accurate, because this is equidistant. You have equal spacing of from the 90 to 80 to 70 of, yeah. So these are all equally spaced. That's wonderful. We love that. But what happens is when you start looking at these longitudes out here, they're very distorted. Right? Even though this is like a 2-scale projection of Earth. So the only place that this is accurate is to what longitude you're centered at. So if I turn it like this, right, then now all of a sudden this line is accurate from top to bottom, but nothing else out here is. If I turn it like this top to bottom is accurate, but nothing else out here is. So I created a little mask here to show everybody that if you want to travel around Earth, that you can everywhere that you want to look, like the coordinate system actually has to move like this in order to give you a correct representation. And you don't bother looking anywhere outside of this section right here. You can see that the lengths of the latitudes and longitudes are being drawn correctly here. So this is when it comes to people asking about the borders, how the borders work with the stereographic virtual reality. This is the only way that you can represent the lats and longitudes correctly. So anywhere you're at within this narrow strip right here is being represented to scale. You'll see that once we go across the international date line here, that all of a sudden there's going to be a big rewind. We'll start over right here. But yeah, so as far as looping or anything like that's concerned, this this totally shows how that's not real. Right? The only way you can draw the coordinate system correctly and to scale is like this, and it has to be centered to your longitude, because you can see that even though the coordinate system is to scale, it's not able to accurately project it once you get out and away from what it's centered on.
Yeah, so let's do the fun experiment that everybody always wants to see and everyone always wants to ask, is the trip to Antarctica and then up the backside of what would be the Earth if it was a sphere. We're going to actually show you the way that actually works in reality. Jason's going to show you here. This is, everybody pay attention. Let's take it back to let's set the prime meridian on Texas, where you basically have it, the center point. And everyone, I'd really like you to pay attention. So we're now going to travel. We're going to go to Antarctica, and then we're going to travel back up the backside, because people are going to ask, where's the backside of Earth here in your model, right? Supposedly Earth has a backside. Well, pay attention, Jason. Take it away.
Yeah, so 90 degrees west is where New Orleans is right here. And so this is nice center, because so here's when we're centered to the prime meridian being 0. And then here's your 90 west. And so this all really lines up here where we're going down through. If I turn this mask on right here, let's see, I need to get your camera up one layer. All right, that's better. And so coming from Texas, we're following basically this straight north-south pass, because right here is your 80 degrees south, and this is pretty close to, I think it was like 82 degrees west. So this is an absolutely to-scale representation of what the flight from Texas to Union Glacier would be if we just went due south. All right, so once you're at Union Glacier and you wanted to continue to the South Pole, you would get down to the South Pole right here. And then what we need to do is spin Earth over to to 90 degrees east. And so you would be coming up from the South Pole here, up 90 degrees east, and you'd be coming in here by Bangladesh, in between India and Thailand, in this area.
So there's no shortcuts. It's basic. You would travel to Antarctica from the 90 west, how Jason showed it. You'd fly due south, you'd get there, and then you'd set your coordinate to that longitude. Then you'd start traveling up your latitudes north, and you'd come up and you'd get to Bangladesh. And if you kept headed north, you'd end up getting to the North Pole. And then you could then travel back down to whatever latitude you choose once you're at the North Pole. and you'd be able to start all over again. This is the big gotcha that Will Doofus tried to have, and all these other people. And it's, you know, it's so easy for someone to, you know, throw crap at the screen. You know, people that got no names, no faces, they've never done any modeling, they don't do anything. They come here and they think they can pick apart something, or like Will Doofus, who didn't do any work, has never done any modeling. He doesn't have any idea. He's never even once questioned the fact that he lives on a spinning sphere, ever. But yet he'll come and throw crap at the screen instead of actually looking. And all it takes is some dedication and some patience and some research into the systems, the coordinates, into the ways that we view our reality, and you'll be able to see what Jason just showed. Again, so if you want to know how you travel, where the supposed backside of the Earth is, Jason just showed it. And there is no backside. Again, all this is being rendered to an observer. The largest field of view that we have, right, is roughly from the sky between 50 and 80 miles. Now, the largest distance sighted was from Kathmandu to Mount Everest, right? From the ground, you can see Mount Everest, but up in the air, everything, it washes out, it pixelates out. We only have such a small area. That's why there's no pictures of a sphere or of a complete flat plane, because you're in a stereographic virtual biblical reality, right? This is a virtual reality that we're in. There's no boundaries yet, but there is a bound, and it's waters. The outside of the map was compassed in waters. We're going to get into that after we do another song break. We're going to look into the book of Genesis, and we're going to also look into the book of Job just a little bit, so that we can start to help people. Maybe people that have never seen what we're talking about, you'll start to get a better understanding how we tie what we're actually showing you back to the Bible completely. And we use the book of Enoch, but we don't even have to. We can use Genesis and the book of Job today.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that's probably all the flat earth we got for tonight. So let's go ahead and take a quick break.
Let's go.
And we'll get back into those scriptures.
If you need me, told by the rivers at your door. And if you want someone to take on the pressures that you hold, you've been standing still halfway up that hill. It's not easy to heal. So if you need me right now, teach me how to love. Maybe that's enough. When we're feeling lost, when the weight's too much, tell me how to gauge all your secret pain. Maybe it's okay not to be okay. When we fall apart, it's another sky makes us who we are. So when you're falling, it's okay. It's so lonely when the roads are crossed and there's no glory hanging over us. Lay your weapons down, let your demons out. I know it's not so easy, but when you're standing still, halfway up that hill. It's not easy to feel. So when you're falling, it's okay.
All right. We're back, and you wanted to go through the Septuagint, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So what is the Septuagint, everybody? Well, Wikipedia says it's sometimes referred to as the Greek Old Testament or the translation of the 70. It's the earliest extant Greek translation of the Hebrew Bible from the original biblical Hebrew. So that's important. The Bible was written in Hebrew, and then this is the earliest Greek translation of that. What else is important about it? It had 72 Hebrew translators, 6 from each of the 12 tribes of Israel. So this was done in a very, very thorough way, where they were taking the original Hebrew and translating it into the Greek as accurately as they possibly could. What else do we need to know about it? The term Septuagint is derived from the Latin phrase, the Old Testament, from the version of the 70 translators. What else do we need to know?
Well, that's a good backstory, you know.
All right. So you sent me 2 different texts here. I've got this one, Genesis 1 in the NIRV, and I've got this one, Job 38 in the NIRV. What was it that you wanted to do?
So when we look into the book of Genesis, let's go. Trying to make sure I can see it on here. I'm going to read a bit, okay? So again, the Septuagint, this is the New International Reader's Version. So it states here, in the beginning, Yahawashai created the heavens and the earth. Now, when I say Yahawashai, that's because the word God is actually in the Bible about 7,000 times. It was YHWH. In the ancient Paleo Hebrew, which is a language that was spoken of by Adam and all the angels, it's Yahawashai created the heavens and the earth. And the earth didn't have any shape. It was empty. And darkness was over the surface of the ocean. And at that time, the ocean covered the entire earth. And the spirit of Yahawashai was hovering over the waters. And Yahawashai said, "Let there be light." And then there was light. And Yahawashai saw that the light was good. So he separated the light from the darkness. And Yahawashai called the light day, and he called the darkness night. There was evening first, and then there was morning, and that was day 1. So the things that I want to just drill in here, slow down. I want people to understand that in your atomistic, materialistic, Big Bang, heliocentric model worldview, there is no possible way that there could have been nothingness, then an ocean, and then all of a sudden day, and then, or night, then day. We haven't even spoken of a sun yet, or a moon, or any luminaries. So what we're explaining to people is that the better way to understand this, or the new way with the new language, the new words that we've been given, is a virtual reality. So inside of a virtual space, this is what the creator wrote down, how he created this realm. And he did it with his son. It continues here at 6. It says, and Yahawashai said, "Let there be a huge space between the waters, and let it separate the water from the water." Now, I'm drilling in here on the Septuagint because the transliterations in the King James Freemasonic New World Order Bibles will say right there, "Let there be a firmament." And then somebody will think, wow, firmament. And they'll do this incorrect transliteration of the word rakia, which actually was just linking to a great space. And I'll continue in 7. And that's exactly what happened. Yahawah made the huge space between the waters, and he separated the water that was under the space from the water that was above it. And Yahawah called the space, he called sky. There was evening and there was morning, and that was day 2. And Yahawah said, let the water under the sky be gathered into one place, and let the dry ground appear. And that's exactly what happened. Now, again, I want to point out, this is a voice-activated virtual reality that's being created before our very eyes. This is the accurate, again, Jason outlined it, that the Greek translation was the first one created from the Hebrew, and they did it with, was it six different people from each tribe?
Yeah, 72 total.
Was there working together to make sure that they got this accurate. Nowhere in here is there a dome. Okay, none. And anyone that tells you that is disinforming you and spreading malicious information. And they will have to pay before the high magistrate. They will have to pay for every single word. And I'll continue here in 10. And Yahawah called the dry ground land. He called the waters that were gathered together oceans. And Yahawah saw that that was good. Nowhere in here does it say that he created a sphere. Right? When you understand, we are going to be making a model. I'm going to be creating a debate point, and we're going to be going after every single person who calls himself a big biblical cosmologist, and I'm going to drag them in front of the whole realm, and they are going to answer to all of this. And then Yahawah said, let the land produce plants. Let them bear their own seeds, and let there be trees on the land that bear fruit with seeds in it. And let each kind of plant or tree have its own kind of seeds. And that's exactly what happened, period. And what I want people to understand is that everything was created in such a way that it reproduced. This is very anti-evolutionary. Nothing changed or improved. Actually, we've been de-evolving over time. The first creation of Adam and Eve were the closest to perfection. And then as the generations have gone by, we've gotten worse. Our life expectancy was 1,000 years before the flood. And I'll continue in 13. And there was evening, and there was morning, and that was only on day 3. We still don't have a sun and a moon, everybody, but we've got trees that bear fruit and seeds that bear this trees. So the trees bear the fruit, and the fruit bears the seeds that can fall down to the ground. You can eat them, or you can grow more trees. And it continues in 14. And Yahawah said, oh, look at this. Let there be lights in the huge space of the sky. So this is where the people that are pushing dismiss and malinformation, they call themselves flat earthers, and they call themselves biblical cosmologists, and they are absolutely blaspheming the truth. This is where the sun, the moon, the stars, and the birds fly around. That's the empty, huge space of the sky. And I'll continue. And let them separate the day from the night. Let them serve as signs to mark off the seasons and to mark off the days and the years. And that's exactly what we opened this podcast up with, was Jason explaining where the sun's position was in relation to where the stars are. So the stars are the constellations that form the 12 houses. And as the sun moves through that, we then know how to calculate the different Hebrew festivals. And I'll continue in 15. And let them serve as lights in the huge space of the sky to give light upon the earth. And that's exactly what happened. And Yahawah made 2 great lights. He made the larger light to rule over the day, and he made the smaller light to rule over the night. He also made the stars. And Yahawah put the lights in a huge space of the sky to give the light upon the earth. Now, again, when we're going to create the virtual reality, we're going to create the model, we're going to show you how the ambient light was created, the flat oceans were created, the land rises up above sea level. Then we've got the stars put into place, now the sun and the moon. And it continues. And he put them there to rule the day and to rule over the night. And he put them there to separate the light from the darkness. Now, also, we always want people to understand that there's parabolic meanings to the scriptures. So there's an earthly understanding and a heavenly one. one that looks towards a dirt or an earthly level, which is just the understanding that we can just completely get. And then the heavenly level, which is one that takes discernment, which takes prayer, and which takes hard work to discern. And that's the unlocking of the scripture. And only few understand it because it was created in such a way that you had to have the correct heart condition. But it says in 19, and there was evening and there was morning and it was day 4. So on day 4, we got the sun and the moon. Right?
Day
So there
and
was
night on day 1, the luminaries on day 4.
There's no, and the trees and all that day 2. There's no way for you to understand this reality if you try to tell me that it's a physical, atomistic, materialistic worldview. You're wrong. You're anti-biblical. You're blaspheming the truth, right? What you need to understand is that this is a supernatural place. And the best way to liken it unto is pixels and a virtual reality. And don't come around here saying that there's no creator at a virtual reality. Nothing's real. There's a metaverse that's created and there's a creator of it. And when we go into the metaverse, I haven't, but if you do or anyone has, you still exist. Okay. And I'll continue here. I'm on 20. And Yahawashai said, let the waters be filled with living things. Let the birds fly above the earth and across the huge space of the sky. Now, again, this is what fake flat earthers and disinformers and misinformers will tell you, that the birds fly across the firmament or the dome. And it's, again, the really, really bad mistransliteration. And it continues on 21. So Yahawashai created the great creatures of the ocean. He created every living and moving thing that fills the waters. He created all kinds of them. He created every kind of bird that flies. And Yahawashai saw that it was good. And so for anybody that tries to say that any animal isn't good to eat, you are absolutely blaspheming Genesis 21. Every single animal that was created good. And 22 goes on, and Yahawashai blessed them. He said, have little ones and increase your numbers. Fill the waters in the oceans. Let there be more and more birds also on the earth. And there was evening and there was morning, and that was day 5. And then we get on to verse 24. And Yahawashai said, let the land produce all kinds of living creatures. Let there be livestock and creatures that move along the ground, and wild animals. Let there be all kinds of them. And that's exactly what happened. Again, nowhere has it said in the creation story that the creator created a sphere and he flungeth it and he spunneth it around the sun and then flungeth that throughout the moving infinite Milky Way going through the infinite galaxy. Anyone that tells you that are blaspheming the truth. And Yahawashai made all of the kinds of wild animals. He made all the kinds of livestock. He made all the kinds of creatures that move along the ground. And Yahawashai saw that it was good. You want to read on 26?
Sure. Then Yahawashai said, let us make man in our likeness. Let them rule over the fish in the waters and the birds of the air. Let them rule over the livestock and over the whole earth. Let them rule over all the creatures that move along the ground. So Yahawashai created man in his own likeness. He created him in the likeness of Yahawashai. He created them as male and female. Yahawashai blessed them. He said to them, have children and increase your numbers. Fill the earth and bring it under your control. Rule over the fish in the waters and the birds of the air. Rule over every living creature that moves on the ground. Then Yahawashai said, I am giving you every plant on the face of the whole earth that bears its own seeds. I am giving you every tree that has fruit with seeds in it. All of them will be given to you for food. I'm giving you every green plant to all the land animals and the birds of the air for food. I also giving the plant to all the creatures that move on the ground. I'm giving them to every living thing that breathes. And that's exactly what happened. Yahawashai saw everything he had made, and it was very good. There was evening, and there was morning. It was day 6.
And that's the first time we get an extra emphasis. Instead of just, it was good, he said, very good, right? And these are the differences from the Septuagint to your regular Bibles or your King James Version. You're getting this extra little bit. And I'm so thankful that they've taken out any malinformation that these fake flat earthers. You'll notice there's nobody in the chat here defending the word firmament anymore. And again, everybody that's out here pushing a fake cosmology and you're using it to sway and take people away from the truth, you have to pay eternally for that. We're going to move on to Genesis 2 here, Jay.
Okay.
Please. You want to keep reading? You want me to read?
I can read. So the heavens and the earth and everything in them were completed. By the seventh day, Yahawah had finished the work he had been doing. So on the seventh day, he rested from all his work. Yahawah blessed the seventh day and made it holy. He rested on it. After he had created everything, he rested from all the work he had done.
And so what I'd like to bring up is the parabolic understanding. So one day in heaven with the Father is 1,000 years on earth. What we're talking about here is the clock speed of the virtual reality. If anybody understands computers, you'll understand what a clock speed is. And so we are approaching the seventh day. And so parabolically, Yahawah gets to rest because his son will then be king over the land, over the earth, and there won't be any more wicked, at least for most of the 1,000 years, until Azazel's are released at us a little bit more. Do you want to keep reading here, or do you want to skip over to Job?
Well, it's up to you, brother.
Well, I did want to basically get an understanding of the creation story first outlined and show people that there's no firmament, there's no ice wall, there's none of that stuff. And anybody that brings any of that up is not biblical. They're eisegesis. They're not exegesis. When you read it word for word, and again, you brought up, this was the first translation that 6 men from each tribe, or women, I don't want to say that it wasn't women, from each tribe came together, 72 you said, and they made sure that they got the transliterations correct. Don't be fooled by modern day shysters and people that are working for Azazel or for Satan to fool you, right? It's interesting that we get the story of Adam and Eve. Maybe we'll get into that in another time period, but let's go over to the second tab, which is the book of Job. Go ahead.
I just want to point out one thing. So what we just did is the full 7 days of creation. And so humans were created on day 6. 7 was a rest, right? And then you get the Adam and Eve story. So then after a full week, 7,000 years was the creation. Then there's the Adam and Eve story. So we're now in this, like the second week, all right, getting close to the 6th day of creation. Right?
Yeah, we'll do a deeper dive into that study at another point. Tonight, I wanted to really talk about how this place is a supernatural, virtual, biblical reality, because there's people who have made comments and said that you guys don't know what you're talking about. Where's your Bible evidence? So everything that we just went through is the stereographic biblical virtual reality. This is how it was spoken into existence. First, we know that it was a voice-activated virtual reality. Second, we found out that it was an empty space. First, the waters were brought forth, right? Then the land was brought up through that. Then night and day were created. Then the stars, the sun, and the moon were created, including all the animals and the birds, and then humans on the 6th day. And then 7th day, Yahawah rested, coinciding with the actual true, like why the Sabbath was important, right? It was a hand pointing forward to the future. It was a representation of the 1,000-year reign of Christ. This is the true Sabbath. And that's why it was in the book of Isaiah that the Sabbaths were done away with. They ended up becoming a stench to the Father because the people's hearts were so wicked, and everything that was given as instructions were there to tenderize our hearts. They were to build up loving and truthful humans. And they were all parabolic lessons, like not to eat the pig. It wasn't because the pig wasn't good, because we just read in the book of Genesis that every animal was good. It was because if you study the pig, they're a slothful, dirty animal. They roll around in the muck, right? And they're gluttonous. So each animal was created in a way that it was food, but also it was a parabolic lesson for us. And we're not going to get too deep into the dietary laws right now, but I'm going to start off by reading the book of Job, verse 38. This is very interesting. Again, this is Yahawah talking to Job and asking him some questions about the virtual reality. And Yahawah spoke unto Job out of a storm. So right off the bat, if you think you live in a materialistic, atomistic, heliocentric, Big Bang cosmology, now you've got a storm speaking. Okay, I can show you that and represent that very easily in a virtual reality program. And he said, Who do you think you are to disagree with my plans? He's basically talking almost to Eric Dubay, if you guys seen his recent Soul Trap video. You do not know what you are talking about. Get ready to stand up for yourself. I will ask you some questions. Then I want you to answer me. And this is Yahawashai speaking to Job, right? Where were you when I laid Earth's foundations? Okay, right off the bat, when we have statements made by Yahawashai, there's a lot being said here. So with that statement, if you have a foundation to the earth, anyone who's ever built a house knows that a foundation is what keeps the structure stable upon, right?
Mm.
You can't have a floating, rotating foundation. So all of a sudden, heliocentrism has now been debunked with a question. And I would like Will Duffus and Doofus and any of the other McTunes. We're going to be getting to you guys. Don't worry. I know they don't watch this because when they turn us on, their eyes and everything starts to burn. Who measured it? I'm sure you know. Who stretched a measuring line across it? So first off, you can't stretch a measuring line across a sphere. I'm a builder. I'm a carpenter. Jason as well, a builder and a carpenter. That's how we pay for this stuff. We don't have Ko-Fis or Patreons. We don't grift. We don't ask for donations. We know that if you were to stretch a tape line around an object, you could then measure around a sphere. But if you're stretching a line across it, Jason, if you could bring up the onion, I'd like to show everybody, here's an answer, Yahawashai. We actually could bring forth our submission in the year Gregorian Satanic 2025. Yahawashai, this is how you stretched the line across the creation. Here it is.
Yeah,
this is
actually,
what Job could have answered if he had the modeling program. Here it is.
So here it comes.
Stretch it out. There it is. Boom.
So
You
that
have-
is let's see, I gotta get my decimal places. 100. Let's see, I have to leave it there. That is
131244994.
Yep. Feet. So all you have to do is convert that and you'll see that it's 21,600 nautical miles.
There you go. Okay, let's go back to the scriptures. Be prepared. We might have to come back to this. I just want to show people how we're able to do this is because we follow the Bible and we put forth the evidence that it leads. Who measured it? Well, I mean, Jason just measured it. I am sure you know who stretched a measuring line across it. We just witnessed that, right? What was it built on? Who laid its most important stone? So that answer is obviously Yahawashai and Yahawashai. That's who was sent to lay the stone, right? Christ. He is the one who laid the cornerstone. When it happened, the morning stars sang together and all of the angels shouted with joy. Who created the ocean? Who caused it to be born? And we just read in Genesis that that was Yahawashai. It states here, I put the clouds over it as if they were its clothes. Now, how could you have an object like a sphere have clothes over it? You would say around it. I wrapped it in thick darkness. 10 goes on to give us a very interesting statement here. I set limits for it. I put its doors and metal bars in place. Now, if we go back to the onion,
All right.
here we have on the outside are the limits. And it's done in such a way that you don't run into a wall. Okay, that's ridiculous. Now, the problem that we have when anybody tries to argue for a sphere Earth is there are no limits. You just keep going around and around. You can't point to a corner or an edge. Could you show me where the four utmost corner points are on this projection?
Yeah, so
Thank you.
at the North Pole, we have a point right there.
There's a 1 point corner.
At the South Pole,
It's another
Yeah.
corner right there.
we have a point right there. And then the farthest east you can go is at the equator. This is 60 nautical miles per degree.
Mhm.
Comes to a point out there. And the farthest west you can go before you end up being back in the east is out here. This
Basic.
is-
Bounce, right? You can't do
20
that on a sphere. You can't.
20 21,600 nautical miles wide, 10,800 nautical miles from the North Pole to the South Pole.
We can't do that again. I'm going to repeat. You can't do that on a sphere. Let's go back to the scriptures. Thank you, Jason. Where was I? I'm on 11. And I said, you've come this far, but you can't come any further. Here is where your proud waves have to stop. So interesting that there's an actual boundary or a spot where it had to be truncated, right? Which that doesn't match a heliocentric sphere. Job, have you ever commanded the morning to come? Have you ever shown the sun where to rise? Now, I'd like you to bring up Andrew Marsh. So we can call forth the morning now. We can show you how it works. And we're not spun on Earth in a heliocentric reality. That would be ridiculous for anyone to think. Here we can call forth the morning. We can show it, right? I bring this as evidence, as I would answer, here I am, Yahawah. I'll call forth, let it be morning, and watch as the morning shall come. Jason just has to bring the sun up for me. There, I call forth, now let it be sunset and night, and you will see the sun will set. This is what Job could have done when he was asked if he had this program. But again, we've had to go through these thousands of years. That's it, Jason. I just wanted to show we called forth the morning, we called forth the night. Do you want to take over? I can keep reading.
Yeah, you can keep going.
I think we're on 14th. The earth takes shape like clay under a seal. Its features stand out like the different parts of your clothes. Now, what we're getting here, right, is the understanding of topography. This is an interesting lesson that Yahawah is giving Job that we're going through today. You understand that we have elevation changes. To have elevation changes, you actually have to have sea level. It continues on in 15. Sinners would rather have darkness than light. When that comes, their power is broken. So interesting that the Creator puts a line in there that's talking about how people would rather have darkness. They would rather live in vain imaginations. It continues. Have you traveled to the springs at the bottom of the ocean? Have you walked in its deepest parts? So now we're getting the Marianas Trench description. Have the gates of death been shown to you? Have you seen the gates of darkness? Interesting that there are gates being talking about. Do you understand how big the earth is? Tell me if you know all of those things. And again, Yahawah, we can bring forth our guess or our estimation. With the onion model, we can show where does the light come from and where does the darkness live? And we can show you through the Andrew Marsh program like we just did. Can you take them to their places? Do you know the paths to their houses? Absolutely. If you bring back up Andrew Marsh. And we also use the Book of Enoch, again, because the Book of Enoch gives us complete description of, again, if we zoom in on the sides, Jason, you can see the Enoch calls them gates that the sun rises up. So it starts in the fourth gate. It goes from the first one in the northerly area to the sixth one in the south area here. And so basically we can call forth from the gates. So as the sun travels, and it's interesting that Enoch stated as the sun gets to the sixth gate, it travels 15 days out, and then it travels 15 days back upon its course, perfectly matching this model. Now there's no curvature here. There's Jason showing the sun through the gates. There's 15 days out, 15 days back. Perfectly matching exactly what Yahawah asked Job to explain. Now, I'm just saying that this is the Father and the Son's creation, and we've been able to research. We're just carpenters, right? We're not anything special. We're just two normal guys that care about truth and have dedicated our lives to this. But we can literally answer these questions. I challenge anybody that has an AE map or anybody that has a ball sphere heliocentric model, if you can align your bottle of reality as simple and plainly spoken as we are right now, it's up to you on the other side of the screen. Go ahead and show me. We'll be waiting. We're going to be bringing this all out. We're going to have debate points. We're going to be going around and challenging everybody on their biblical cosmology. The reckoning is coming. Time is up. So let's go back to the scriptures, please. Everybody can see that those are the 6 gates exactly laid out. So basically, we just answered almost every single question. This is, I mean, baffling. If you're just tuning in here and you haven't seen any other videos by Jason and I, you got to ask yourself, what's going on here? How are these two carpenters able to answer these questions so easily and quickly? Like, I really want you to think about that on the other side of the screen. It continues on in 22. Have you entered the places where the snow is kept? Have you seen the storerooms of the hail? So again, for us to show you that, we would have to bring you into a modeling program and then show you how you could code hail and snow. And I'll continue on here. It says, go ahead.
I just want to add quickly here. So things like hail, right? Obviously heavier than air. So just the whole idea that you could have this hail stored up, right? When we had that incredible amount of rain that came from the hurricane, and there was like 40 trillion gallons of water that got dumped, like all that weight had to have been suspended up in the air beforehand. The hail has to be suspended up in the air beforehand. The only way that's possible is if we're in a virtual reality where those things just come out of these different gates that are talked about by Enoch and what we have here in Job, right?
Exactly. It says here, I store up snow and hail for times of trouble. I keep them for days of war and battle. Where does the lightning come from? Where do the east winds that blow across the earth live? Who tells the rain where it should fall? And who makes the paths for the thunderstorms? They bring water to places where no one lives. So isn't that interesting that the Creator is explaining exactly how water gets carried through the sky and then dumped back down in the desert? And the water that deserts that deserts that do not have anyone in them. They satisfy the needs of the dry and empty lands. They make grass start growing there. Again, so we're getting the explanation in the virtual reality. All you need to do is sprinkle water down on the ground and stuff starts to grow. Does the rain have a feather?
Father.
Who is the father of the drops of dew? It's obviously Yahawashai. Does the ice have a mother? Who is the mother of the frost from the heavens? The waters become as hard as stone. The surface of the ocean freezes over. Now we're getting like Antarctica and northern regions of the world. Can you tie up the beautiful Pleiades? Now we're getting the constellation spoken of. Can you untie the ropes that hold Orion together? So again, when the scriptures talk about the handiwork of the Father, and people will say, oh, that means dome, hard rock firmament. No, it's talking about the beautiful layout of the constellations, right? It continues on. Can you bring out all of the stars in their seasons? Can you lead out the Big Dipper and the Little Dipper? Jason, could you please bring up Stellarium? We can... Yahawashai, here I am. Hear me now. We absolutely can bring forth the stars. We can show you how the bands arise. So if we're able to answer these questions so easily and accurate to 100th of a degree per second, would that not lead you to believe that we're in a virtual reality? I mean, it's pretty basic. We're not showing anybody rocket science, right? We're not Elon Musk. Jason's able to bring forth the constellations and spin them in the sky accurately to exactly what you see outside.
Counterclockwise in the north and clockwise in the south, right?
Yeah. I
mean,
do people see?
Totally different sky. So these aren't the constellations that you see going around the south.
No. There's a tilt to the sky, right? Which absolutely destroys heliocentrism. Right? And they don't want to deal with that. Again, the reckoning is coming. Let's continue on. Where was I? I'm at 33 now?
Yeah.
Do you know the laws that govern the heavens? Can you rule over the earth the way I do? So again, the laws that govern the heavens are the different speeds and the different seasons and the way that the procession of the equinox takes place. So we're able to actually track how far and how long we've gone. It states in 34, can you give orders unto the clouds? Can you make them pour the rain down on you? Do you send the lightning bolts on their way? Do they report unto you? Here we are. Who put wisdom in people's hearts and who gave understanding to their minds? So obviously the coder, the creator did. Who is wise enough to count the clouds? No one can, because they come into existence and then they go out of existence. Who can tip over the water jars of the heavens? I tip them over when the grounds become hard. I do it when the dirt sticks together. Do you hunt for food for mother lions? Do you satisfy the hunger of their cubs? Now, what a great question he's asking. A lot of these questions, too, we can't answer. I mean, I don't know how that works, but it's an amazing feat that everything that moveth along the ground, it gets fed. Some of them lie low in their dens. Others lie waiting in the bushes. Who provides food for the ravens when their babies cry out to me? They wander around because they do not have anything to eat. I guess we could go a little bit more if you want. But the point is clearly being made. I mean, if you can't see how the scriptures match a biblical virtual reality, you can continue, please.
Job 39. Job, do you know when mountain goats have their babies? Do you watch when female deer give birth? Do you count the months until the animals have their babies? Do you know the time when they give birth? They bend their back legs and have their babies. Then their labor pains stop. Their little ones grow strong and healthy in the wild. They leave and do not come home again. Who let the wild donkeys go free? Who untied their ropes? I gave them the dry and empty land as their home. I gave them salt flats to live in.
Hold on. So first off, we get the understanding of what the ropes are. So the ropes is a reference, not to string theory or any nonsense like that. It's to the fact that they are fixed in their path. The constellations having been roped is a reference unto the way that you would hold a horse to a building or a structure that you built. And now I gave them salt flats to live in. So now we've got the earth being flat and it's filled with salt, which is very vital to a lot of animals.
They laugh at all the noise in town. They do not hear the shouts of the donkey drivers. They wander over the hills to look for grass. They search for anything green to eat. Job, will wild oxen agree to serve you? Will they stay by your feed box at night? Can you keep them in straight rows with harnesses? Will they plow the valleys behind you? Will you depend on them for their great strength? Will you let them do your heavy work?
So interestingly, that we had animals that were created that we were able to work the ground and then harvest our food from. Interesting how everything, and then we were able to eat those animals too.
Can you trust them to bring in your grain? Will they take it to your threshing floor? The wings of ostriches flap with joy, but they can't compare with the wings and feathers of storks. Ostriches lay their eggs on the ground. They let them get warm in the sand. They do not know that something might step on them. A wild animal might walk all over them. Ostriches are mean to their little ones. They treat them as if they did not belong to them. They do not care that their work was useless. I did not provide ostriches with wisdom. I did not give them good sense. But when they spread their feathers to run, they laugh at a horse and its rider. Job, do you give horses their strength? Do you put flowing manes on their necks? Do you make them jump like locusts? They terrify others with their proud snorting. They paw the ground wildly. They are filled with joy. They charge at their enemies. They laugh at fear. They are not afraid of anything. They do not run away from swords. Many arrows rattle at their sides. Flashing spears and javelins are also there. They are so stirred up that they eat up the ground. They can't stand still when trumpets are blown. When they hear the trumpets, they snort, ah! They catch the smells of battle far away. They hear the shouts of commanders and the battle cries. Job, are you wise enough to teach hawks where to fly? They spread their wings and fly toward the south. Do you command eagles to fly so high? They build their nests as high as they can. They live off cliffs and stay there at night. High up on the rocks, they think they are safe. From there, they look for their food. They can see it from far away. Their little ones like to eat blood. Eagles gather where they see dead bodies.
Interesting. We're getting some rapture type questions, right? Gathering where the vultures are, this and that. So I think that we've gone far enough for what I wanted to show people tonight. It's just basic understanding of how the book of Job and the book of Genesis especially when you use the Septuagint, and you take away all the mis, dis, and malinformation of all these fake translations, you start to see that there's no way that you live in a domed, ice-walled, AE Freemasonic New World Order pressurized pizza dome. You start to see that you live in this beautiful virtual stereographic biblical reality. And it's easy to see. We're able to answer these questions, and a ball earth, sphere earther can't do it. And neither can anyone that says that they're biblical cosmology, that they're domed AE map and model. It does not work. You can't do it. You can't show me the gates. You can't make the sun and the stars and the moon rise. Most people don't even, if you ask a ball earther, how do you show me day and night? He's got to spin the earth, right? That goes against the violation against the scripture saying that the earth is fixed and immovable, right? These are just the basic things that I wanted to bring forth, Jason. I appreciate you and what you put forth tonight. If anybody wants to see that, the beginning again, if you tuned in late, make sure you go back and watch the calendar update. We've cited when the new year is going to begin. And then we also went through the debunking of the football and the soccer ball earth, right? For anybody that's tuned in, we were hoping that channels like QN Dummy or McToon or Fight the Fat Earth or any of these channels would actually have, helped us out and done the work. But sadly enough, nobody wants to do anything. So Jason, you went ahead and did an excellent job. I appreciate that very much. Thank you all for tuning in. Hopefully we get some comments. People can say some stuff like, but we're coming. The biblical cosmology debates are going to take place. Everybody better get to work right now. You better get preparing your defense because heaven and earth is witnessing it, and we are going to have a showdown, and it's coming.
Yeah, it's been great. Great to be able to get in another live stream. Chances are it will be this next Friday. We'll be doing Flat Earth Friday again, and we'll start it all over again. So anything else, brother? Or?
No, that's it. I'm really grateful. All glory goes to the Father, Yahawashai, and his son, Yahawashai. Everything that they created will be fulfilled. And I'm just super excited, and I'm grateful to be here. And if anybody hasn't checked, you can look in the description box. If you want 2.5 more hours of content, you can find the Rumble channel below, my Rumble channel, and you can go see the podcast from this morning. But thank you, everyone, for tuning in. You could follow a link to our Telegram group where you can share and be a part of a community. There are rules there, so you're going to have to find out what those rules are when you get over there. But all the links to that's Reality Check. They're in the description box below.
And the only place you're going to get this content?
On the Yahawashai News Networks.
Seasons break the meaning of often in between and dark. Sleep in silence. Your pretty dream is timeless. Seen so many faces, it's crazy. Find my escape in violence. If Jesus was a patient, he'd pay me. Miracles tend to make him more lazy. Got my way into these stages. Violence means reflective painting. never been so close to home, but away and alone.